Hello, my name is Joy Poe. Welcome to my PESTLE analysis for heartfelt flowers for ENT 610 Entrepreneurial Creation. A PESTLE analysis is helpful for recognizing the external forces that may sway the success and failure of your business. I like this as analysis because it made me see just how many issues have an effect on my business and how educating myself about those topics can benefit heartfelt flowers. Again, this time I chose to work up my handcraft business, Heartfelt Flowers, because I'm really interested to see if pursuing the business as a bespoke wedding service would be viable. In the past, I mostly sought out festivals and pop-up shops, holiday markets to show and sell, but I've always felt my felt flowers could be used more like a florist would use real flowers. PESTLE is an acronym for political, economic, social, technological, legislative, and ethical. These external forces play a role in any business, and here I'll talk about how they exert their forces on heartfelt flowers. For the political, identifying aspects of the political forces that may affect heartfelt flowers, such as regulations and business policy, are imperative to building a successful handcraft business. The economic stressors on heartfelt flowers involve fluctuation in consumer spending, interest rates, and business cycles. As far as social goes, cultural tastes, fashion, and lifestyles dictate much of what consumers desire. The social impact on heartfelt flowers may be its strongest influencer for success. Technology, advances in technology may not drive success or failure, but there is a huge impact on heartfelt flowers' ability to scale up and market effectively through technology. And then legislative, the legal parameters such as employment law, minimum wage, as well as health and safety guidelines all impact heartfelt flowers and how it will grow in the future. And then ethical practices are at the heart of many handcraft businesses, knitting together with cultural demands and social responsibilities. Ethically sourced supplies and environmentally friendly final products and services are important to me through heartfelt flowers. So we'll go a little more in depth for the political. It's hard to imagine a handcraft business being covered under political regulations, but there are indeed a few political issues to consider. The most obvious are state, local, and city licensing. You got to have a business license, and policies and politicians make those rules and regulations. You also must pay sales and use tax every quarter for sales and use of the items that you are selling. There's also federal tax, quarterly tax payments for it being an independent business. There are online sales regulations such as out-of-state sales tax. I know on Etsy.com they started, certain states now must charge a sales tax. Other states still do not. There are also internet regulations that affect large handcraft sites such as Etsy or Amazon Handmade. There's lots out there. Those are the two kind of big ones. And then there's just self-employment business policies that are made, different things that you have to know if you're self-employed. For economic, as with any business, the economy drives successful profits, disappointing losses. Artists and craftspeople must have a strong economic setting to thrive. Custom handcrafts demand a higher cost than cheaply made imports. A slow economy can quickly reduce the demand for luxury handmade items. Many brides and their families take out loans to pay for a wedding. If interest rates increase or if there's an economic downturn, the decrease in popularity of loans and the people's ability to secure them can affect heartfelt flowers. Weddings can also be affected by the business cycles. People may be less willing to spend high dollars close to quarterly or yearly taxes. Have large payments to pay. Perhaps don't want to spend as much money on bespoke items. However, they will likely want to spend more shortly after tax refund season. So that kind of March, April area is kind of a boon for most businesses, I think. social, culturally handmade items are really popular right now, and the artisanal movement is still growing in the United States. For some people who maybe haven't read some of the other things, the artisanal movement is just kind of defined by what you see. I always think of farmers market as a perfect example. It's local, handmade goods that have a story, that make people feel like they're purchasing ethically. There's lots of little bits about the artisanal movement, but it's a pretty big thing right now. And I think it's kind of baffling a lot of larger businesses because they can't quite be that discreet. From markets to craft shows, maker spaces to anthropology, DIY and handmade items are shining in the cultural spotlight right now. Social media platforms allow handcraft businesses to connect, interact, and sell products directly to their consumers. That's a big difference from, say, 20 years ago or even 15. Brides in the wedding industry are also embracing DIY and handmade items. They both have this charming social identity and then a luxury feel as well. So it's perfect for customizing bridal bouquets and, decor for weddings. There's also a big popularity in destination weddings, elopements, micro weddings. They all lend themselves well to handmade bouquets that travel easily. They don't wilt. You can decide on them months ahead of time and have them delivered before your wedding. And then seasonal changes and customer interest in particular flower trends dictate what kind of flowers I sell best. So, this big, large flower that you see on this screen here, I called those blushing bells. They were one of my favorite flowers. They were pretty large and they just didn't sell very well, so I had to kind of discontinue them, but still love my blushing bells. Don't get to use them very often. Seasonal, financial and geographic demographics. They ebb and flow with economic fluctuations, and they inform the strength of interest in handmade custom wedding items. Technology. So handcrafted items do not reside outside of the innovation of technological advancement. They most definitely are affected by technology. Mobile technology in particular has disrupted the way handcrafts are introduced to the public and how they're marketed, exhibited, sold. Again, think Etsy.com or Amazon Handmade. Online sales through personal websites, and then those handcraft platforms such as Etsy, and then the ever-changing applications, apps that social media, they have propelled handmade items into the limelight and making it popular and easier than ever to market. And then Heartfelt Flowers originally caught all the flowers by hand, but one day I found a die cutting machine. And die cutting machines have become ever more ubiquitous. There's all sorts of the Cricut, and everybody's kind of heard of these things. But this means that flowers can be made quicker with these new cutting technologies. Then if a small handcraft business such as Heartfelt Flowers gets noticed by huge culture-influencing companies such as Anthropology or West Elm, the need to scale up may require developing new processes to meet demand for their products. And then a small business like Heartfelt Flowers cannot compete in price with the dynamic pricing of overseas labor and materials, but it can compete through customer service and custom and wholesale orders. Next, we're going to talk about legislative pressures. Should Heartfelt Flowers grow into a substantial business, there are many legislative considerations. I've yet to hire any employees, but if I were to scale up, Heartfelt Flowers would need to understand employment laws and how to appropriately pay my employees. Having worked many minimum wage jobs in my life, I have my sights set on being able to pay a living wage for employees. However, this aspiration may require changing my prices to and that may not be very well accepted by customers. I feel like my products are already a little bit expensive, probably not terribly, but enough that they may not be able to sustain the paying of a large living wage. In addition to learning employment laws, I'd also need to understand health and safety guidelines for employees and even for sourcing materials for my products. And then all of the legislative considerations must be taken into account should heartfelt flowers choose to grow, and many of them will pose significant hurdles to scaling up. And then ethical and environmental. Part of what drives the artisanal movement is the consumer's desire to purchase ethical products. Happily, wool blend felt is 100% renewable and all natural, making this alternative wedding bouquet a sustainable choice. Bouquets also can be recycled around the home after a wedding, making them an enduring reminder of that special day. And then, despite the absolute beauty of fresh flowers, many people feel guilty about that single-use extravagance in the wedding industry, so heartfelt flowers is a good choice because of the fact that it is renewable and all natural, but it also can be reused. And then Heartfelt Flowers would like to start a program where people pay for or donate a flower to build a bouquet, which is then given to a nursing home resident. This weekly donation would go to residents who may have very few visitors or hasn't not been feeling unwell lately. So I have always wanted to do that. I have yet to implement that idea, but it's on the list of things that I would love to see Heartfelt Flowers be able to do in the future. And then, although felt is a renewable resource, the laborers who make felt are often from countries outside the U.S. Nepal is a pretty popular place for felt to come from. It's important to me to find an ethical felt supplier who pays labor appropriately and attends to the health concerns of creating sheet felt. I think there's a lot of fibers that come up into the air, and they may be natural fibers, but they may yet still be not good to breathe continuously. And then finally, I just wanted to show you my SWOT analysis. It's a slightly different form, but just for a quick reference, I wanted to point out how the PESTLE analysis really does a good job of expounding on these external opportunities and threats presented in the SWOT analysis. That would be the opportunities and threats down on the bottom two rows. I believe I understand the threats category a little more clearly now, although areas such as regulations, legislation, and ethical issues are not threatening my business. The changes that come from such categories do indeed have the potential to negatively and positively impact Heartfelt Flowers. And my final thought about moving forward with Heartfelt Flowers as a bespoke wedding service is there is indeed potential to be profitable, but there may be some significant hurdles in growing this aspect of the business, and the social demands may wane and affect the long-term success of a handcrafted wedding service made of heartfelt flowers. All right, well, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.